Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Alex Renzi, supervising judge in New York State Supreme Court, Paul C. Muncie, James Valley Jr. in Penfield Court. My name is Chris Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been in jail 6 times. 6 times the prosecuting talk court because one corrupt judge is delivering me to jail because of you criminals at the district attorney's office, sheriff's office, who do not have the intellectual capacity to identify a crime. So I have prosecutors to silence. And you know those names: Perry Douglas at the district attorney's office, just like the other district attorney's office employees: Lisa Gray, Michelle Crowley, Mark Monahan, and director of the local courts, Elizabeth Buckley. What do you think, Elizabeth Buckley, when you have to go into one of these disgusting 6-star chambers like Penfield Town Court, when there isn't a jury of 12, there isn't a witness box for testimony, there isn't a table for you to sit down at, Elizabeth Buckley, just like there isn't a table for a public defender or defense attorney. You have to stand there in Penfield Town Court before Paul C. Metzer or James C. Mullen Jr. or John P. Metzer Jr. before Paul C. Metzer, and then grovel to them when they're in there with 5,000 votes, when each of those names I mentioned, those 3 sick judges, who are about 70 years old, don't have any idea what's going on. They are in there in total ignorance about the facts and circumstances that presents a defendant in front of them in Penfield Town Court. And do you know what I'm talking about, Elizabeth Buckley? So, Elizabeth Buckley, this is UPS dated 18 September. Did you get it? If you had integrity, morality, and decency, and I don't know you, so I'm not going to say that you don't, you would contact me with this information. In document after document after document, I think I sent you more than 50 documents, you could see that I'm telling District Attorney Sandra Doorley, your boss, paid $210,000 to disclose the names of my prosecutor's silence. I'm not asking you or demanding information that's the internal operations of the District Attorney's office. When I'm forced into a courtroom by psychopath cops, Elizabeth Buckley, I have a prosecutor, and I know what 2 of them look like. And you know their names, Elizabeth Buckley. So what are the names of my prosecutor's silence? And how am I in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? How does that happen to any American citizen, to be delivered to jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? Do you know what the answer is, Elizabeth Buckley? It's fanaticism. That's the answer. Fanaticism delivers a defendant to jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court. So, send me the information, Elizabeth Buckley. cchichester@gmail.com. That's my Gmail. You can contact me. 813-648-4441. That's my phone number. You can call me and tell me. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York. Send it to me. Send me the names of my prosecutor's silence. The reason why I'm demanding these names, Elizabeth Buckley, is that the Appellate Division of State Supreme Court is where an attorney is disbarred, and I will be relentless about disbarment for each single one of my attorneys. Prosecutors who are attorneys. When 361 picks up, please give him all the returned items. All the returned items. Public Defender Julie Sianka and your $140,000 salary. When I contact members of the Monroe County Legislature, Public Defender Julie Sianka, I'm going to make a copy of this and send it to him. It's the Public Defender of Monroe County, taxpayer finance public employee who knows the names of my prosecutors. She's the public defender. Send this back to me. You $87,000. This is the public defender, Mark Phillips. Send this back to me. Regina Harper sent this back to me. I don't know if she's still employed there, but you do. Regina had to come to Livingston County Jail, same jail cops Buffalo mass murder Peyton Gendron is in, and win my release. And then Regina had to go into Penfield Town Court and grovel to Paul C. Metzler when a prosecutor made an argument that I committed a crime. Grovel's the word. I'm not saying that to insult Regina. Anybody in front of these 2 hacks, $28,000 Paul C. Metzler, $34,000 James C. Mullen Jr. is groveling. So, tell me what the names of my prosecutors are, and you will continue to refuse. And I hope a psychopath doesn't start to bang on the door, or you'll hear noise out there in my little $600 apartment where people in Rochester, New York cannot be normal, because Rochester, New York is a city of freaks. So if you hear noise to what's to my left over here, it's a freak out there that does not know how to exist in normal. So they're all over the city. Freak after freak after freak. I lived in New York City. I lived in Washington, D.C. I lived in Albany, New York. It's the fourth city I lived in. So I could compare it to. And in my three previous cities, nobody's being set on fire by psychopath teenagers. You know about that case, Liz Buckley? And the answer is, of course you do. So when there's real crime and violence crashing down on Monroe County, this freak cop, $67,000 Shannon Meyer, who Todd Baxter gave a $16,000 raise, is writing a warrant for my arrest for walking through this park lot in Penfield, New York, that I walked through 4,000 times. Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles. Is it a crime to walk through this park lot? The answer, Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles, is no. And this is why people hate the police. I've filed a criminal complaint about Nayrod shot, his 50-year-old man who lives right over here. You can see it. Going to the sheriff's office. I mean, walk this parking lot, but not anybody else. False reporting an incident, something like that. Since I'm an attorney, I will not confidently say that this is a false reporting incident. But it is something like that. Because it's not a crime to go walk through his parking lot. And when Nayrod shot, his 50-year-old freak who lives with his 7-year-old mother goes to the sheriff's office about this, that is a crime. Because this is false reporting something that's not a criminal act. 4,000 times I've walked through his parking lot. There's two of my neighbors up here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm coming back from Gold's Gym one day. Shot starts to go berserk up here, screaming at me. I have this confrontation with him. Then he goes to the sheriff's office, and his freak Shannon Meyer, who's then paid $16,000, calls me. And question after question, I'm saying to her, every single time, people walk through this parking lot every day. She would ask me a different question, this freak. And then before I answered it, I would say, people walk through this parking lot every day. Why I call him that? And it doesn't register with this freak. She's why people hate the police. So, ridiculous lunatic fringe. The ridiculous lunatic fringe is right here that you're lying about because you know you can lie about it. You, Todd Baxter, are a veteran liar, so your employees. It's right here. That's called the camera. That's a surveillance device that's on this road right here. Excuse me, at 2025 Penfield Road. That's the camera. This is private technology you're using for me, Sheriff Todd Baxter. For a business called Consumer Insights, where Elliot Ross, the president, you buy it and fix it for me. Tell me what the answer is. January 16, 2023, Todd Baxter showed this photograph why you're fanatic, this photograph why I'm extremist, this photograph why a liar, this photograph why I'm no name, your $67,000 disgusting head Shannon Meyer. This photograph is why people hate the police. I believe Todd Baxter, the United States Attorney for Western District of New York, Trini Ross, who I've been in contact now for a year, 50 plus times, registered mail return receipt, said to you, tell me, as the United States Attorney, if this is private technology using on the citizen, or did you buy it and fix it for me? You would refuse. And the hypocrisy of you, you bald-headed Benito Mussolini skinhead, you demand answers every day from employees and others in your disgusting, sick, fanatical circle. So, how many times I've been in contact with you? I fill this out. It's over and over. What's wrong with you? The district attorney's office. I have prosecutors. Over and over, it comes back to me. This is corruption I'm holding up in my hands here. This is fanaticism. Right here. Perry Duckles, 828. This comes back to me. Perry Duckles, right here. There's your name. There's somebody's signature says S-T-E-V-E, Steve. You look at the foil. You see I'm demanding 3 names. I have at least 3 prosecutors right here. Perry Duckles, the $113,000 deputy district attorney. You refused. Why? That's insane. To refuse to tell a defendant forced into a courtroom by psychopath cops the name of the prosecutor. January 1, 2023. Perry Douglas, District Attorney, 47 South Fitz, Rochester, 14604. Attaching PDF 61-page Freedom of Information Law document dated December 20, 2020, due to arriving office via UPS. This documentation also arrived December 22nd, December 26, 2023. The UPS was tracked to have it. Bring to your corrupt boss, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, tells pathetic inclination of health afflictions to send the information on US UPS address below. It includes the names of my prosecutor's files. What's not to understand? I've demanded my prosecutor's silence for 18 plus months. I'll be in court again because your fellow psychopaths know it takes only one corrupt judge, like Renzi, in New York State Supreme Court, pulsing that's in Penfield Court, to declare me guilty of criminal charges you concoct. That's exactly right. I was in jail again after I wrote this. Because you know it only takes one corrupt judge. Because you're corrupt at the district attorney's office. You, Perry Douglas, have looked at this and blew it off. I contacted you again in February too, over and over and over. I've contacted you. I have prosecutors, financed by the taxpayers of New York State and Monroe County, and tell me their names: Perry Douglas, Elizabeth Buckley, Mark Monahan, and Director of the Grand Jury, Michelle Crowley. So, Director of the Grand Jury, Michelle Crowley, why don't you call me to the grand jury? Psychopath cop, $73,000. Michael Houlihan, psychopath cop, $85,000. Don Benedetto walked onto the private property of my 70-year-old neighbor in Penfield and hid. Is that constitutional, Michelle Crowley? When you were in law school, the 3 years you went to law school, did you learn anything about property rights and individuals being on property that they don't own, even if it's the police? I will not state something is unconstitutional when I don't know, because of how bizarre the law is, especially in New York State. And if the destruction of a human being is legal in New York State, since Governor Nelson A. Rockefeller in 1970, anything can be legal. So, Michelle Crowley, when Michael Houlihan came to you and said I swung a hammer at him on my back porch, which is a lie, did you ask him what he's doing on the private property of my neighbor? Does it matter? Why don't you call me to the grand jury? How am I indicted, Michelle Crowley, when I don't know this grand jury's convened and you don't know anything? And what's the vote of the grand jurors? This is 18 to 24 grand jurors. How did you pick the grand jurors? And I hope you don't answer this foil that has arrived in your office for over a year now, because then I have a case that you can be disbarred, you nauseating, sickening, disgusting, revolting fucking hack. Freedom of Information Law, dated this September 30th, 2023. Information about the grand jury can be my District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, Todd, Christopher Chichester. That is one, the day, month, and year the grand jury is convened. 2, the assigned District Attorney's Office employed to address the grand jury. 3, the witness that testified to the grand jury. 4, the vote of the grand jurors. 5, transcript of the grand jury proceeding. You, Michelle Crowley, I'm going to print this out because it is Saturday. It'll arrive, I hope, in the next 7 days. You'll look at this with your name on it. When I send you the registered mail return receipt, they're going to stamp this at the post office. This is going to have your name on here, which is already, your name's already been on a little piece of paper like this, the return receipt. You're going to look at it and refuse, and this is why you're corrupt. So, free cops. So Benedetto and Houlihan come running at me at midnight. I turn around and run away. This happened in 30 seconds. Anything they say is a lie. And you will believe any lie they tell at the District Attorney's Office. So, I run my bike down 5 Mile Line Road. There's a hammer next to my bike. I used to fix the front tire. Michael Houlihan, as I'm about to run through the sliding glass door, I place my foot on the first of 3 steps. I grab the hammer 5 seconds earlier. Michael Houlihan, a $73,000 cop, freak, perjurer, grabs my arm. The hammer goes up and runs through the sliding glass door, and I never stop running. It's one thing for me to just say this. It's quite another thing when it's on the body camera footage that Regina Harper, Public Defender's Office, played for me when I went to the Public Defender's Office. And I sat there next to her and I said, I ran away the whole time. And she said, words to the effect of, I know. This is why people hate the police. And when I send this transcript to Todd Baxter, because I'm getting transcripts done of every time I've been on YouTube, I'm going to highlight what I just said now. I'm going to say to him in writing, what do you think about what I just said about your employees? It does not matter to the blue wall of silence of Todd Baxter that his 2 freak cops, $73,000 Michael Houlihan, $85,000 Don Benedetto, hid on the private property of my neighbor, concocted a crime for me, and then Michael Houlihan perjured himself to your grand jury. So, Freedom of Information Law. Again, I'm being stalked and followed. These fanatics at the sheriff's office have stalked and followed me repeatedly, especially since I acquired the payroll. They're around me all the time, even now today. I see them all the time. They're around me. And they were never around me for the first 8 years I lived in Penfield. So, this is a crime. Todd Thurston, Michael Riley, Kathleen Miller, $101,000 William Tadell, committed by $75,000 Richard J. Siegman, for which he should be in state prison, violently attacking the Penfield Public Library. I do not know that this is the last time I'm going to leave my residence on this debt, because I'm owed a check of $61.39. This is the price of violence right here. Here it is, that expired, and I knew I was going to hold it up and say this is the price of violence. It's worn down here. This is the check I was given when I left Livingston County Jail, because of what I'm about to say. Paulson Messer convened Penfield Town Court when the District Attorney's Office is not notified. She contacts the Public Defender's Office, who doesn't contact me. The Public Defender's Office, Julie Sianka and Mark Phillips, is just a window dressing to say that I had counsel, when that's ridiculous. So this is what happens. Ridiculous, insane. I leave my residence. There's Richard J. Siegman and his psychopath partner staring at my front door. I walk down Penfield. I walk to Bad Road. I get to 1985 Bad Road. I sit down. In walk Richard J. Siegman and his psychopath partner. Siegman begins to run at the library. I'm at the last terminal. He runs at me, slams his arm into the side of my head. It's the force of Richard J. Stevens' arm hitting my head. I fell backwards and my head hit ceramic tile. They picked me up and frog marched me out of the library. And there's Paul C. Messer waiting for me when there's nobody from the district attorney's office. Is that constitutional? Perry Douglas, Mark Monahan, and most importantly, Elizabeth Buckley, the director of the local courts, because I don't believe it is. You could tell me if you had integrity, if this is constitutional. And that's where I meet my public defender. When I contact Sabrina Lamar and the other members of the Monroe County Legislature, Julie Sianka, how do you explain yourself as far as your office knows I'm supposed to be in court with this window dressing public defender, but I don't? So, for your information on the issuance of a new check to Christopher Childs, your address blown for an expired check in the amount of $61.39 from the County Monroe Office of Sheriff and May Fund account. If you got the dollar amount in the pocket of Chichester when he's violating Act 10 for Public Library, 75904, Richard J. Sieben, of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. These are psychopath cops at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. 95% of them are psychopath cops that hate the human condition, that hate human beings, and most importantly, given all their training and experience, they do not know how to identify a criminal act. So, I have names, prosecutors, and every single one of these that I'm reading are demanded of you on September 23rd and September 26th. See that? 23rd, 26th, today, 30th. And you're going to refuse every single time. The freaking sociopath prosecuting in total silence for John P. Lenzo, Paul C. Messer, Penn Court, and Alice Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, is right here. And the freak and the sociopath, above all others in Monroe County, Sandra Doorley, for 18 plus months, has refused, despite her $210,000 salary financed by the taxpayers, to tell me the names of the freaks and sociopaths prosecuting me in total silence. Director of local courts, Elizabeth Buckley, you know those names, and send them to me. For your information on documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, Downtown Court for John P. Lenzo Jr., what is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The freaking sociopath, Elizabeth Buckley, director of the local courts, where you can send me this information, is right here. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester and Penn Court for Paul C. Messer, what is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The freaking sociopath, Elizabeth Buckley, the director of the local courts, is right here, and send me the name of the freaking sociopath. Freedom of Information Law dated this September 30th. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, New York State Supreme Court for Alice Renzi, what is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The freaking sociopath, director of local courts, Elizabeth Buckley, is right here, and you can send me the name of this freaking sociopath, and you're going to do nothing, Elizabeth Buckley. So, Elizabeth Buckley, you've been at the district attorney's office since 2007, because I demanded length of service. The reason why I demanded length of service, because I worked in the New York State Capitol. There was a man who worked for Governor Nelson Rockefeller, who was past 70 years of age, was on the 5th floor of the Capitol's 5 floors, and he'd walk around all day, come down to the 3rd floor in the press office where I worked, talk to one of my colleagues, walk around the Capitol all day long. It was really sad to see this man, I was told once, was highly effective working for Governor Nelson Rockefeller, because he knew people, but he didn't have a job. I believe you have people at the district attorney's office just like that, including one employee hired in 1991 who's been there before Sandra Doorley, who was first employed as an assistant district attorney in 1992. So, Elizabeth Buckley, who is it? Because it's right here. This is the district attorney's office. Here you are, Elizabeth Buckley. I thought it was 104. You are 131, 416. So you, Elizabeth Buckley, paid $1,000 to Todd Baxter. I'm not saying that that's an outrageous salary at all, because I don't have a problem with 6-figure public employees. I have a problem with 36-figure public employees that are on here. So Elizabeth Buckley, send me the names. And you, Michelle Crowley, can also send me. It's 131, 416. And you're paid the same amount. 131, 416. You, Elizabeth Buckley, and Michelle Crowley paid the same amount of money. And how does Sandra Doorley arrive at that bizarre salary? Does she want to prevent the fact that you, Michelle Crowley, may know that Elizabeth Buckley makes more than you? Or something like that? It's bizarre. Every single one of these salaries is bizarre. When I had to limit the payroll when I worked for Governor George Pataki, Senator Majority Roccarino in Albany in the Capitol to the media, it was a clearance salary. $55,000, $60,000, $80,000. It was evened out. It's nothing like this. You're paying employees in cents. Thomas P. Gappley can demand an answer of how bizarre that is. So, John P. Lomenzo Jr., this disgusting, vile hack in Pennsylvania Court released Daniel DeLoss III. You know who he is, the district attorney's office who prosecuted him, where he claims that there were defective documents to Dan DeLoss III, who I believe it was something like soliciting a minor, or it was some type of offense where he's preying on children, and there were neighbors, according to Democratic Chronicle, who were extremely concerned about Dan DeLoss III. Well, he was released, and I think he was subsequently arrested again for doing the same thing. Lomenzo claims these are defective documents. I want to see them. Paul C. Message, James Money Jr. I know you're not going to send it to me. And I believe the Office of Court Administration demanded these documents of you, or the House Judiciary Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, which I will be in contact with, you would still refuse because you drenched in corruption in that little sick room. Freedom of information on defective documents for the case of Dan DeLoss III before John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Pennsylvania Court. When I ride my bike down 5 Mile Line to Webster, I would pass this exact road, Armental, Luster. And I would think they're just not complying with my FOIA, because it's over and over and over that I've sent this to you. And this gets Lindsey Barron, the Monroe County Office of Mental Health, to my house. This exact FOIA I read when John P. Lomenzo Jr. was still in that disgusting little room. I walked over there. I went to the window. I said, my name's Chris Chichester. I handed this exact FOIA to him. I said, I want to see the defective documents for the end of last night and walk home. Now, what did I do to have Lindsey Barron, of the Monroe County Office of Mental Health, at my house? Elizabeth Buckley, Perry Duckles, Mark Monahan, Michael Rather, Kathleen Mill, William Tadeo. Nothing. Nothing at all. I used the Freedom of Information Law, John P. Lomenzo Jr., and Michael Rather, William Tadeo, Kathleen Mill, Scott Alberti. When your Monroe County Sheriff Office comes to my residence, because it is, where I'm exercising my First Amendment right, that's a Monroe County Sheriff Office employee that's nowhere in Monroe County about violence in Monroe County, and nowhere in the city of Rochester when violence is crashing down in the city of Rochester. There he is in my driveway with this mental health bureaucrat when I'm exercising my First Amendment right. So, defective documents, case of Dan DeLoss III before John P. Lomenzo Jr. Pennsylvania Court. What's not to understand, Paul C. Metzer and James Money Jr.? I will repeat things because I'm worried about the state of your minds at your age. They know nothing, Elizabeth Buckley, Perry Duckles, Mark Monahan, Michelle Crowley, at Pennsylvania Court. Their job in the assembly line of guilt is just to pronounce the defendant's scale guilty and smash that human being into a million little pieces, which they get a perverted thrill out of doing. So, this is sexual harassment at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office. Do you, Michelle Crowley, do you, Elizabeth Buckley, know what sexual harassment is? Do you, Robin Catalano, know what sexual harassment is? Do you, Jennifer Hyatt, know what sexual harassment is? It's a man asking a woman out on a date over and over and over if she's under siege with no. It's lewd, vile, profane language in the office, oftentimes laden with misogyny that makes it impossible to focus and concentrate. There's 500 ways, 1,000 ways that this dehumanizing behavior destroys the soul. What's the answer as far as what's commonly called sexual harassment? And I really despise it when I hate that term. It has to be defined, which I just did in a general way. There are animals right now engaged in this behavior in public offices in Rochester, Monroe County, Albany, New York, Washington, D.C., everywhere. Do you have animals at the district attorney's office engaged in this behavior? Do you have animals at the sheriff's office engaged in this behavior? The answer is yes. Freedom of information law. The cost of taxpayers of Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter expended taxpayer dollars to settle employment-related lawsuits failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So here's the payroll for the sheriff's office right here. Todd Baxter asked Jennifer L. Rivers at 86-538 and 40 cents about the state of sexual harassment at the sheriff's office and how the male employees behave, because 90% of the time, males. Here, Stephanie R. Tompkins, 75-544 and 49 cents. Todd Baxter asked Stephanie R. Tompkins, has she experienced any type of behavior that can be defined as sexual harassment at a job? You're not going to do any of this, Todd Baxter, because you're corrupt. That's why. And the law's a joke to you. And you don't want people to know that your animals at the sheriff's office are engaged in what's commonly called sexual harassment. You don't want to know anything. Todd Baxter. So, now, same freedom of information law from a certain district attorney. I don't know if she's a Democrat or Republican. She'll say anything. Freedom of information law. The cost of taxpayers, Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley expending taxpayer dollars on employment-related discrimination lawsuits, federal comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So here's the payroll for the district attorney's office: Elizabeth Buckley, Perry Douglas, Mark Monahan, Michelle Crowley. And you know what the answer to that is. You Perry Ducks have been at the district attorney's office since 2003 for 20 years. You could, I would guess, retire if you wanted to, if you're at that age, because you got you 20. I would hear that all the time when I worked in the Capitol in Washington, D.C., in Russell Center office building, Raymond House office building. He got his 20. You could retire at 50, 40 sometimes, being a public employee where I worked. So Perry Douglas, given that length of time since you were hired in 2003, you know the answer to this question. And you know the answer here. Perry Douglas, 144,721. That's your salary. So what is the answer? And I know you refuse to answer. Sandra Doorley has looked at that exact role. I hope, if the state of her health is not in the radical decline and collapse that I believe it is, she looked at this and refused, and this is why she's corrupt. And you do not know the district attorney of Monroe County is corrupt. I'm going to tell you with 3 words how she's corrupt: conviction, integrity, unit. The district attorney of Monroe County needs a separate bureaucracy to police herself for one simple reason: innocent citizens are in jail when prosecutors don't talk in court because of the fanatical cops at the sheriff's office. So Perry Douglas, what's the answer about what's commonly called sexual harassment? Because you could ask Mary Ann Rossetti at 59561 what the answer is, or you can ask Eleanor Biggers. Now, this is very important here. And when I say very important for the state of humanity, because this Mary Ann Rossetti, $59,000, is paid $58,000 less than Eleanor Biggers. And that difference of $58,000 is a power disparity in the office. Somebody's paid more money, has more power within the confines of an office to fend off a sexual harassment predator. Don't you care about your own employees? Members of Congress, especially the ones I work for, Congressman Senator Lippy Snow, will be extremely concerned about the behavior of their own employees because they don't want the train wreck of being in the Washington Post. That's why. And when I would go to this bar called Bullfeathers, which is right next to the House Rayburn building, staffers would talk about what's going on in their office. And there are things that are really mind-blowing that I would hear that males and females would be doing as far as harassing each other or behaving in certain ways that could be defined as sexual harassment. Story after story after story on the Hill about this behavior that I'm confident exists right here at the district attorney's office, because this disgusting, nauseating, the repulsive hack Sandra Doorley is refusing to answer my floor right here. Freedom of information law. I'm exercising my freedom, using the law to demand information of you at the sheriff's office, district attorney's office, Penfield Town Court, Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, and you're refusing time after time because you're corrupt. So, overtime and time and a half. I'm confident overtime and time and a half can remove you both from office. Remove meaning that you have to resign, you have to go, because the heat's going to come down on you in any number of ways. From this ridiculous, not from this ridiculous media that doesn't cover you. So, for new information, the total cost of overtime, time and a half, I'll pay on a base salary calculated at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Todd Baxter. Todd Baxter, on this payroll here, you have Ryan J. DeMore at $62,635. Can Ryan J. DeMore double his salary to $124,000 or not? Tell me what the answer is. So on this payroll here, you have Andrew M. Soyke, the first page, $118,000. Can Andrew M. Soyke double his salary to more than $200,000? What's the answer, Todd Baxter? And you refuse to answer because you're corrupt. The same thing for the district attorney of Monroe County. Will refuse to answer about overtime, time and a half. Can our employees double their salaries? Free information on the total cost of overtime, time and a half. How I'll pay about a base salary calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office of Sandra Doorley. So with Buckley, can you double your salary from $131,000 to $260,000? Can you be paid more money, Elizabeth Buckley, than Sandra Doorley? So on the second page of the payroll for the district attorney's office, Lisa Gray, the counsel to the district attorney, $117,000. Can you, with the overtime, time and a half, counsel to the district attorney, Lisa Gray, be paid more money at $210,000 than district attorney Sandra Doorley? And what's the answer? So, Paul C. Metzer has my healthcare records because Todd Baxter violated federal law and gave my healthcare records to Paul C. Metzer. Todd Baxter, what am I talking about? Paul C. Metzer knows where I was at Elmwood Avenue well, where I'm not examined by a doctor. And then when a doctor does examine me, I'm released. And this has happened to me repeatedly. So, for your information, I'll copy the private healthcare records delivered to $28,000 Penfield Town Court Judge Paul C. Metzer by Sheriff Todd Baxter in violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. My former employees at the Senate and the House passed this law. And when I would go to meetings at the House Judiciary Committee, they would occasionally talk about healthcare records because it would be a topic. where there'll be colloquy and the members are talking to each other. It's so memorable the way members can talk to each other about privacy. Privacy in a violation of a citizen's rights, where some stranger knows about that citizen, especially in disclosure of healthcare records, really enrages members of Congress. And it enrages me that you, Todd Baxter, gave my healthcare records to Paul Seymour, and you're refusing to admit that you did this. And she will too. I believe that if the Office of Court Administration or somebody else has regulatory power and control over this $28,000 bald-headed widow asked of her, do you have his healthcare records and this sheriff in this county? Give them to you. She would refuse to answer because she's corrupt. Freedom of information law, I hate to use this phrase. There's only one phrase to use for it. And do you know what phrase I'm going to use? Sheriff Todd Baxter? Because there's only one phrase that's the accurate phrase. As I look for the high resolution color photo, and this right here, Todd Baxter, is a surveillance device. Did you buy it and fix it for me? Or using private technology on me for walking through this parking lot, which is not a crime, that gets 6 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees to my residence? Like, come out here and tell Steve Desmond, Brock, Olin, Tree Longer, nobody owns this land next to my residence, walk by the residence. That's not a crime. I just showed it to you. This is why you're a freak, Todd Baxter, and this is why you're a liar, Todd Baxter. Freedom of information law. The cost of surveillance device purchase with taxpayer dollars fixed to a building 2025 Pemfield Road, the model Christopher Chichester walks through the parking lot next to the building, lunatic fringe. So I have the light coming down upon me where I'm going to the public market today. And when I get over there, because I have different ways that I go, like on Railroad Street or Railroad Avenue, I hope the freaks aren't outside asking for money and screaming at each other, because that behavior doesn't happen in Albany, New York, and Washington, D.C. And the freaks will be outside screaming at each other and asking for money that Mayor Malik Evans and RPD Chief David Smith do nothing about. Freedom of information. The cost for photography session approved by Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, photograph 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in a pool. The lunatic fringe, Benito Mussolini skinhead here. Your employees right here on campus, a private event. You pay taxpayer dollars for these employees to be underwater in a pool, and you refuse to answer because you're corrupt. Ryan Fisher in Atlanta, Georgia. Todd Baxter, on January 10th, this arrived in your office. It's in red. Psychopaths like the color red. The cost for hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff Office employee Ryan Fisher attended Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia, February 3rd, 2019. Here's my handwriting. This is January 10th here. Here he is right here. Rambo Ryan Fisher not doing his job in the deep south of Atlanta, Georgia with his canine dog, Lola. And then you want people to know that Rambo Ryan Fisher is in Atlanta, Georgia, because you're tweeting about it. And here's the picture of him again. As we get ready to watch Super Bowl, we're great for the men and women side. Keep fans and players safe in Atlanta, including MCSO's Deputy Ryan Fisher came out alone. Deputy Fisher sent this photo from Atlanta. Thank you both for your service. So, Todd Baxter, this is Excelsior. This is the flag of the state of New York. It means ever higher. Such a beautiful flag. You see us all the time in the Capitol. And you're sending your employee down here to Redneck Stars and Bars, Atlanta, Georgia, 1,000 miles away, where this was still the flag until 2003. Ryan Fisher walked up to somebody at that stadium and said, take my picture, because I want to send it back to my employer, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Ridiculous lunatic fringe. How much was it? You fleece the taxpayers when I contact Controller Thomas B. Napoli. I'll say this has arrived over and over and over for more than a year. And he'll be able to reach the easy intellectual conclusion. What's he hiding? What's his problem? And you're sending Corey Brown, your $155,000 employee, and Michael Fowler, your $163,000 employee. Both make more money than you in Saratoga. And you did comply with that because it was $1,000 for you to fleece taxpayers to send these two employees that make more money than you to Saratoga. So, freedom of information law. I'm demanding to know if Alex Renzi has clerks. He's going to look at this and want to send me to jail. I'll be in jail because if Alex Renzi looked at this, I'll be right in front of him. Some concocted piece of fiction, some lie. You can use pretrial services, corporation on me, any number of ways you freaks and sociopaths can concoct a crime for me, force me into him, where you can just summarily declare me guilty, where you smash me again into a million little pieces, where I have no due process, I have no civil and constitutional rights. He's going to look at this and be in a rage. Freedom of information law, which I'm trying to do to him. Freedom of information law. Names and salaries of every public employee in the New York State Supreme Court on the supervising judge Alex Renzi, 99 Exchange Boulevard, Rochester, New York. Does he have clerks? Does he have clerks telling him what to do? I'll write this down and ask him. He'll refuse to answer because he's corrupt. That's why. Freedom of information law. What's the old lady at the window paid? Paul C. Metzer and James Ramon Jr. Is the old lady at the window paid more money than you, Paul C. Metzer, had $28,000 and more money than you, James, from June, $34,000. What's the answer? Freedom of information law names salaries every public employee in Town Court does the old lady at the window receive more pay in tax dollars than $28,000 Paul Seametzer and $34,000 James Miller Jr. Contract for your weapons. Again, when I contact Controller Thomas McNapley, which I hope will be in the next 2 weeks, I'll say I've been demanding this for 12 plus months over and over and over. It's not a security issue for your sheriff's office. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. And that's the lie that you're going to come up with. There's a contract. There's a dollar amount. You have the handguns, long guns, and rifles. You have an arsenal. What's the price of the contract and who's the contractor and other information? Freedom of information law. Contract signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase firearms from our County Sheriff Office employees to include 1, the name of the firearms contractor, 2, the number of firearms purchased, 3, the total amount of taxpayer dollars spent to purchase firearms. This, I believe, can remove from office. Move from office can happen in any number of ways. You just think, I have to go, I have to resign. Because of what's happening around you, where people are demanding you resign. That in all likelihood won't happen. I'm not in some delusional 1984. But that's my goal on here. Because you're corrupt, that's why. Because you're a fanatic, that's why. Because your employees, Todd Baxter, don't know what constitutes a crime. And it's perfectly acceptable for you, you Benito Mussolini skinhead, for your employees to concoct crime after crime after crime for me. This is blank. I'm going to use this upon you relentlessly. There are times I've been on here with 70. And the reason why I'm not on here with 70 today is it's Saturday. I'm going to walk over to the public market, like I said. I'm going to get on my day. But when I have been on here with 70, where it arrives at your office and you sign for it, all 70 refused. It's a legally binding document that I acquired your payroll with. This Anthony O'Connor locked the doors and locked me out, which is a crime. And it doesn't matter, you freaks and sociopaths, that this Anthony O'Connor locked the doors and locked me out. Now, on this September 23rd, I sent this to you. You can't see all the emails there. The same thing I just read. I read to you on September 21st. It's called the front. Here's all your emails up here. I changed my email, so email I can't block. What I just read, it arrived in your office. I print out. Here's all your emails. All those names I mentioned. You saw the PDF. You should have seen the PDF attached. Second, September 12th. Every fall I read arrived September 12th. Here's all your emails up here. Miscellaneous, September 7th. Every fall I read arrived attached to PDF. Via email, registered mail return receipt. That's registered mail return receipt in your office. So, disclosure for Julie Sianco. When I contact the members of the Monroe County Legislature, this is how I believe that you can remove the public defender. Just tell me the names of my prosecutors. Julie Hahn, one of my prosecutors. This is corruption. She can answer me. Julie Hahn, Monroe County Court, 99 Exchange Boulevard, Rochester, 14604, August 29. Are you the prosecutor unable to talk to Penfield Court for my appearance for the $34,000 job implements a dream to deliver to Monroe County Jail? 50 plus attachments to language I've used for 18 months, demanding names of prosecutor silence from your former boss, Secretary Sandra Doorley. This nightmare for the citizens of Monroe County is viewed every single time down in law and the facts of why she's corrupt. No citizen should ever be deposited in jail or prosecuted in talk court. I've been an inmate in Monroe County Jail and Stanley Jail total 6 times prosecuted in talk court. This is called names here. Names, Sheriff Todd Baxter, Secretary Sandra Doorley. Over and over and over. I use the foil here. I'm talking about. Send me those names. This is called hideous. I'm trying to use words that are inflammatory to enrage you freaks. Hideous. Todd Baxter, Sandra and Alex Renzi. To me, it's hideous that I'm being violently attacked by sworn officers of law, the violence of the sheriff's office. I'm being deposited in jail without a prosecutor talking to court, the silence of the district attorney's office. Silence and violence has destroyed me. Averse. Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Judge Alex Renzi. You're just averse to justice. You're averse to me demanding information from you. You're averse to the truth. Freedom of information law, heinous. My Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Judge Alex Renzi. Heinous is a perfect word for what you are. You hate the human condition. You freaks hate innocence. You freaks are consumed with power, and it does not matter to you the obliteration of a life, which has happened to me. So, TikTok, corrupt Perry Douglas. I'm on his TikTok app too. Contacted you on January 1, 2023, Perry Douglas. In February, over and over on YouTube. I'm on TikTok telling you to do a simple thing, which is disclose the names of my prosecutors. Santini on a spot, I'll lock the doors and lock me out. And you have the criminal complaint in your office about him, and you're going to refuse every single time to honor the law and do what I'm telling you to do. Antonio Spano, Fairport, unlocked the front and back doors of the residence, 26 Sandra Drive, in Penfield, without a quarter, and that's a crime. I'm swearing that he did this, just like I'm swearing Michael Houlihan purging himself before you, Michelle Crowley. And here it is right here. That's why the law's a joke to you. This is a crime. Antonio Spano, Fairport, unlocked the front door and back doors of the residence, 26 Sandra Drive, Penfield, without a quarter, and then my ex-girlfriend Laura took everything out to his storage, locked them. What's in the world? Everything is gone. I have albums because I'm a certain age. You ever heard the song Wait For Me by Daryl Hall and John Oates? Midnight Hour, Almost Over, Time Is Running Out for the Magic Pair. This is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. Wait For Me. I've listened to that song 500 times in the last 30 years. That's how much I love that song. I had that album. It was on an album. I had that on 8-track that I don't have anymore because this psychopath old man you will not arrest, even though it's a crime in the state of New York to lock the doors on a tenant and lock the tenant out. Just like it's a crime in New York for anybody to slam their arm at the head of a citizen, and the citizen falls down and slams their head on the floor, which Richard J. Seaman did to me. Just like it's a crime in the state of New York for my ex-girlfriend to take everything out to a storage locker without a court order. Just like it's a crime for Michael Houlihan to lie under oath in a grand jury. None of this matters to you. What doesn't matter to you is the sun comes streaming through. I'm going to wrap this up in 40 minutes. I don't have a social security card because it's all mad. Because everything is gone. I don't have any clothes. I have to go to the Goodwill. I pay $2, $3, $4, $5 for shirts, socks, shoes, because all my clothes are gone. So I had cards made. Innocent man. Is guilty or not guilty? I'm neither. I'm innocent. Innocent man, Chris Chichester, this is attached to the Freedom of Information Law. So, you're criminals. You, Sheriff Todd Baxter, are a criminal. You, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, are a criminal. You, Judge Alex Renzi, are a criminal. Paul C. Meltzer and James Jones Jr. in Penn Court are criminals, refusing to comply with the law. Send me the names of my prosecutors of silence. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I've been an innocent man my whole life.